Well, first of all, I mean, loving cricket as we do, I must ask you for, I think, Mr. Boycott's views on the cricket.
Well, you know, you got to look at the positives, haven't you? And I mean, when was the last time an Australian cricketer won Strictly Come Dancing? You know, they can do it in the middle, they can't do it on the dance floor. You know, we've had Darren Gough, we've got Mark Ramprakash. We'd have had Steve Harmison. He came out for the first foxtrot and missed the dance floor by 20 yards. They're so tough, aren't they, the Australians?
Aren't they tough? I mean, there's tough, and they are tough.
And they're so good at the sledging as well. I think the only one who actually topped an Australian sledging, that's all the sort of the banter and the back chat, Glenn McGrath bowling at the Zimbabwe batsman, and he kept on beating the batsman, but couldn't get him out.
Yes.
Eventually, Glenn McGrath said, "Look, why are you so effing fat?" And the Zimbabwean said, "Because every time I sleep with your wife, she gives me a biscuit." And that's what you got to give as good as you get, you know.
That's right. But it's been interesting to talk to John McEnroe about all that too, because he was also massive at sort of psychological approach and tough as well.
Yeah, tough. Absolutely. Yeah.
Now let's talk about the main subject on the agenda, which I mean, very shortly you're going to lose one of your best guests, Mr. Tony Blair. He'll be off and away. I mean, you'll be sad to miss him, won't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, we sort of go back a long way, don't we, really?
We do.
The other day, my daughter, little Ava, who's 5, she picked up a newspaper and there was a picture of Tony Blair on the front, and she said, "Oh, look, Daddy!" Which, you know, I think we might need an inquiry into that one. I know he's got the Metropolitan Police looking, might have the Child Support Agency looking at him. But I think I'll sort of miss him in the way that the Labour Party will miss him, in that, you know, he and the Labour Party, they don't share the same politics, they hate a lot of the things that he's done, but at the end of the day, he did give them a job for a long time. And
he did that. What did he do?
But it's a weird thing, because the front bench of the Labour Party at the moment, it's like the flight deck of the Starship Enterprise. You've got Tony Blair saying to boldly go where Labour has never been before. Yeah. Foundation hospitals, trust schools, a replacement for Trident, and down in the engine room, Gordon Brown saying, "She can't take any more, Captain." But he's just a survivor, Blair. I wouldn't be surprised if he just decided to stay on, because now he's got the army are annoyed with him, the police are investigating him, the party's plotting against him. I mean, if this was South America, he'd be leaving from the roof in a helicopter. The only reason he can't is because we haven't got any helicopters. It's either in Iraq or Afghanistan, or we bought them from the Americans, and the Americans won't tell us how to work them. So... And yet, you know, he's now so weak and vulnerable that Madonna's offered to adopt him. But you look at him, and he's like, "Am I bothered?" Look at my face. Does my face look bothered?
You are going to miss him. Will you see him often on television? On the show, the Brendan
Well, I just worked out, I think the last Brendan Bird and Fortune is on Easter Sunday, I think, so... I don't know if we'll get away with the crucifixion, but... Well, I think we'll see him off in the appropriate manner.
What about replacements, sir? You mentioned there Gordon Brown. What about John Reid?
Oh, but I mean,
I'm not talking from your point of view, you know, from doing the impression.
Well, it'll probably be Gordon, but John Reid, I mean, if you look at them now, John Reid and John Prescott, they're like a couple of nightclub bouncers, aren't they? I mean, they're just such thugs. And Gordon Brown's a bit like, you know, sort of a waiter saying, "Come this way, a table for two? OK, don't sit at that table. I had a bad experience with the Prime Minister at that table once. I'm the head waiter. Yeah, I've been waiting. I've been waiting for about 6 years now." But John Reid, it's this thing about Labour Home Secretaries who just get tougher and tougher and try and outdo people. He was talking about the Muslim community the other day. And have you noticed, John Reid, have you noticed this thing? He started to take, like, the prison officer in Porridge. It's that little twitch. And he was talking to the Muslim community saying, "Look out for the telltale signs in your children. Are they going to school with a Kalashnikov?" And Labour, since they came to power, they've introduced over 3,000 measures. I mean, they banned hunting, they banned smoking. So if you're a beagle, you've got nothing, you know. But over 3,000, it's now illegal to explore the hull of the Titanic without a permit. Yeah, like, you know, we've always wanted to do that.
Do it often at weekends.
Yeah. Look out for the telltale signs in your children. Have they bought a pair of flippers?
You mentioned John Prescott then, and because, I mean, he's been a gift to you of late too, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean, Prescott, but they've got to the stage now where they're not so much politicians, they should be in pantomime, really. Yeah, I mean, you should do... David Blunkett would be good, yeah.
Oh, David Blunkett. Yeah.
Dick Whittington and his dog. Midnight and no sign of pussy. brought it on himself, though, Blunkett. I mean, because he was such a sort of tough homosexual. Don't pat the dog, he'll have your bloody head off. And that stuff with the book, you've no idea how hard it was to have my private life all over the newspapers, which is why I decided to do it all over again.
But I mean, there is an interesting point, because I watch it and I laugh at that, and we all laugh at that. But there's something which says in you, should I laugh at that, basically? Do you see what I mean?
Well, I know that because people have this thing about the eyes. But I promise you, when you do a David Blunkett impression, if you don't do it, you know, doing the courtesy of doing a proper impression of him, it doesn't look right. It just doesn't look right in makeup.
Yes.
And I had to say to people, you know, I'm not doing it because he's blind. I'm doing it because he's David Blunkett. I mean, there was one occasion where I was a bit worried about it. We did a show together that David Frost had organised. You know, he said, come and do a speech. And the other speaker is David Blunkett. And so I turn... And I have this unfortunate habit. Whenever I bump into David Frost, I have to go, hello, good evening. And so I say, hello, good evening. And he said, hello, good evening. And David Blunkett was going... and eventually the dog had to say, he's the one on the left. I know what you mean. I mean, there's a line.
I know. I mean, I feel guilty laughing at it. It's very...
Don't feel guilty.
Well, I do. One's conditioned that way, you know.
But
because,
there's a line.
Because well, that's the point. I mean, where is the line? Where do you draw the line?
Well, Victoria Wood actually put it the best way. She said, if it's funny, it's not bad taste, and if it's bad taste, it's not funny. So the line keeps moving. I mean, they have this saying in Russia, don't they? One man's meat is another man's Putin. Poison. No, Putin.
It's going to be actually very tough for you for a while because, I mean, George Bush W, he's going, one of your favourites.
Well, the sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned. But, you know, I'd say we've reached the end of an era.
An era?
I believe... you got there. I believe it's been a great era. I think when people look back, they will see that this is one of the greatest eras in the history of the American presidency. But there you go. He's an extraordinary man. He's got this obsession with the word merkin. Do you know what merkin is?
No, I don't. What's
merkin, it's a pubic wig.
Oh.
Right, stay with it.
How did you know that? I mean,
how long have you been in show business, Michael?
A long time.
And you don't know what a merkin is?
No.
OK. And Yorkshire cricket boycott war one all the time, under the box. A merkin. A merkin, it's a pubic wig that dancers and models wear. And I don't know why that George Bush has got this obsession. He'll come out and do his speech. Every speech, he says, I'm proud to be American.
I mean, now you've got this reputation of being the sharpest of all our political commentators, in a sense. I mean, and that wasn't where you started, but that's where you arrived at. Obviously, because that's what fascinates you, and political satire is important in a sense.
Well, I was radicalised as well by the Johns, John Bird and John Fortune, who I just think they're just peerless. They are just wonderful, wonderful sort of mentors and teachers. And I just got interested in politics and how things are actually done and how the world works. And I think if you do impressions, it's quite nice to do people who actually matter, and so that's why I do. Well, sometimes I do a lot of people who don't matter.
Well, you also do like entertainers, of course.
Yes. Mm. Well, I mean, sometimes you mix the two. I mean, I think the reshuffle should be hosted by Ant and Dec. So who's going to be leaving the cabinet jungle tonight? Well, the Prime Minister's made his mind up. They've got the votes counted. Let's see. John Reid. It's not you. So we kind of cheat a bit. We mix metaphors, if you like. So you have the populist characters and the politicians and try and... You want to entertain the audience, but at the same time, there's a lot of really fascinating stuff out there, and we kind of try to do that on Bremner, Bird and Fortune.
But you have this marvellous facility, too, I mean, of looking like the person who you're taking off as well. You spend a great deal of time and care over that. It doesn't always work, or sometimes it can't work, because there's a vast difference. But let's be reminded of this in a sketch you did about Noel Edmonds and his new quiz show.
This is Mike, a high-flying executive. Mike has already rejected some pretty lucrative offers. One as chief executive of a mining company worth $1 million a year. Another with a pharmaceutical company worth twice that. But we know somewhere in the remaining 2 boxes is a job worth $6 million a year. Plus bonuses, plus share options. Mike, it's big. It's very big. Have you decided?
Yes.
Oh, he's decided, everyone. Mike has decided. Oh, the phone's ringing. It's ringing. This could be interesting. Hello? Oh, that's very interesting. Wrong number.
I think the credit there goes to Helen and Sarah in the makeup department because they do wonderful work there.
Do you ever go home like that in character?
I've done that twice, yes.
Have you?
Once we were filming at Harrods, and I used to live about 10 minutes walk away from Harrods, and I was dressed as Mohammed Al-Fayed. And I had a choice of going in a minibus an hour across London, back to get changed, and then an hour back to the flat, or just walking down the street. But of course, as Al-Fayed, you have licence to be a complete bastard to anybody. You go, get up, what do you do? Do you look at me? Why you stare at me, you bloody bastard? And the other one was, we were one night filming very late, and it went on to 8 o'clock, 8:30, and we had a supper party at home. And I rang Tessa and said, look, I'm going to be very late. How late? Well, I'm very, very late. She said, well, just get home as soon as you can. So I just kept the Tony Blair makeup on, got back home, rang the doorbell because Tony Blair wouldn't have a key, and sort of came in and sort of sat through the dinner party as Tony Blair. And it got to the end of the dinner party and I said, well, I better take this off. And Tessa said, oh, don't bother, just come to bed like that.
Really? And you went to bed as Tony Blair?
Yeah, well, not all the time. Yeah. I'd probably be still there, actually.
So what next? You've got more of Bremner Bird Fortune coming up, of course.
Next year we're doing 2 series of that next year, and I'm doing a couple of translations as well.
Yeah, you're doing Brecht, aren't you?
Yeah,
Brecht.
Well, it goes right back when I was at university. I did German, and
right.
Somebody, rather foolishly, about 5 years ago, said, do you want to try translating an opera? And I had such fun doing that, so I sit down with the dictionaries and the thesaurus and the original German, and I love it. It's like going back to a library, like going back to school, really. And so that'll be at the Young Vic. It's called... they're calling it the Big Brecht Fest. There's a couple of short Bertolt Brecht plays, and that's at the Young Vic in March.
And also you've written the introductory chapter to a book on pronunciation.
On pronunciation.
Pronunciation.
That's right, yeah. People have very strange ways. I mean, the one that I think of most was Sean Connery, who can't say the letter S, you know. He's always... and I met him, we were on holiday, and he was sort of living up the road. And so we said, well, let's get around for a barbecue, because you would, you know. And he arrives, and after 20 minutes, everyone's standing around, and he says... Why aren't we shitting? And I thought, well, that's nice to say about my barbecue. And he said, no, why aren't we shitting down? And it was that S thing.
Yes.
So I think the first time he met his wife, he said, you're a shite for sure eyes. And they went on from there. But, I mean, it's meat and drink. I mean, without accents, without... That's why I find the present lot, they're very featureless, very characterless, so...
The present lot...
Well, Cameron is very...
Oh, tough for you. It's going to be a tough 5 or 6 years.
I miss Michael Howard.
You're doomed there.
I do.
There's something of the dark about
It's all right. I'm not going to hurt you.
Rory Bremner, thank you very much indeed. Rory Bremner.